Hello guys, this is Nick Newman from RPG Master, and today's video is going to be about problem players and how to deal with them. Yes, problem players. Every game sees a problem player eventually. They can come out of nowhere, like cockroaches out of the bottom of a trash can, just crawling out, messing up a game, interacting with all the players and shitting on them. Yeah, problem players. Every game has one, probably. Well, maybe not. Maybe I haven't been in a game without a problem player, but nonetheless, I have some answers for you poor people that have to deal with him. The first thing I want to tell you is sometimes you just shouldn't invite those players to your game. If you're the GM and you know one of the players is hindering the fun of your other players, well, just don't invite them. It's very simple. Just don't invite them. Now, I can understand there can be some kind of passive-aggressive deal with that and not inviting them. But oftentimes you can make games spontaneous. And you can just be like, oh, we got together and we started playing and we were full. We were booked. We had all the people that we wanted to be here. You can do something like that. But usually they'll get the message just by doing that. However, second route is a scary route, of course, for a lot of people. It's to confront that player. Oh yeah, to confront the player. It can be hard. It can be really hard to confront somebody when you have a problem with them, but sometimes it's necessary. You got to do that. You got to put your foot down, and you got to do that because this game, you're going to spend hours on this game. You're going to spend hours with a group of people. Now that means that naturally there's going to be conflict, of course, but if it's a conflict born out of disrespect, it's got to be fixed. Otherwise, you're just going to dread sessions, or you're just not going to come yourself, and then you're not going to play role-playing games. And that's not cool. That's not what this channel's about. You're going to play role-playing games because that's good, right? Like I was saying, sometimes you got to confront them. And I mean, the first time you confront them, it's over. They know. Cards are on the table. That's how I feel. Deal with it. I think you're hogging too much of spotlight, you talking over people, you're not listening, you don't care about anything but yourself, what else we got here? The main deal. So, I just got to tell them, and then tell them from a perspective of how you feel, and it helps if you have another person with you. It helps a lot. So, moving on, sometimes you got to find out what is it about the player that's a problem. Now, instead of just saying this person's a dick, there could be an answer. There could be a way that everyone can work together peacefully and have a good campaign. Because sometimes good campaigns take people of different kinds of thought processes working together at the same time, doing different things to make that chaotic, dramatic story that everybody's looking for. And opposites, they work together well. Now, if it's a point to where it's hurting the game, you should probably try and work on something. Now, you just find out it's easy sometimes to figure out what's wrong with somebody, because that's part of it. Their behavior is a manifestation of things outside of the game in their life. Maybe they're a power player because outside of their life they have nothing. They have nothing they control, or maybe they were raised in a family where they had to be aggressive to get what they wanted, or they were totally ignored. And so when they play in the table, they have control over that, and they can be strong, and they can be the best and number one. Maybe somebody outside the game is completely charismatic, overly charismatic, and when they get to the game and they sit around with a bunch of people who are not as charismatic, maybe they'll take over the game and absorb all the spotlight where everybody else wants to do something, but they can't because this person is too boisterous or is too much to get over. And let's see, maybe players just not paying attention could be another problem. And usually it isn't, because a lot of us are attention hogs. We all are to a degree. We all require attention and love and want the world to revolve around us. But sometimes we can't have that. And then other people, or when it's somebody else's turn, people will totally ignore it and let or be kind of out of the game until their character's back, and they'll be like, "Oh, what happened?" And I've done that before, of course. Some players are boring when they take a turn. They don't know what they're doing. It gets to them. They have a 5-minute thought about what they're doing, and then they proceed to do whatever the hell they're doing. And I understand that. But it doesn't stop me from interacting with their character. That's important. I mean, I have to listen to what they're doing, but I can try to listen. And if I can't, if I have to zone out or something just to get through the session, I will still try to interact with their character afterwards, because it's going to keep them in. It's going to keep me interested in the things they do. So, you want to be a team player. Maybe the problem player is a rule lawyer. Yeah, rule lawyers. That's me. I was a bad rule lawyer. Sometimes I still can be. But here of late, I've had an epiphany about all of this stuff. Part of the reason why I made this channel. And for me, it's all rule lawyering was all about keeping fairness in the game. You know, I didn't want to be cheated, and I didn't want my friends to be cheated, and a lot of it came from player versus player conflict. Yeah, we played a campaign where I was a player in it, and we had a lot of player versus player conflicts, and at any time our characters could throw down and kill each other. That was part of the game, and it's part of the drama. But it did push me to a lot of rule lawyering, because I didn't want to be in a situation where I didn't know the answer to the thing I was trying to do, to protect myself or to kill someone else. Now, looking back on it, it was all a muddled mix of crap, because it never turns out the way you really think it's going to turn out. No situation really turns out the way you think. In battles, people can think outside of the box in battles, and the GM can make up rules out of the side to answer those things during the battle, and it can totally just, throw off a plan. For example, I played a character one time. It's story time with Nick. I don't care how long this video is, but because I know a lot of people, there's not a lot of role-playing videos out there that will connect with you like I will. So I'll go ahead and I'll tell you the story. So my character and my friend's character, we were towards the end of a campaign. We were both level 20s, and we were going to fight the big bad, but we were going to fight him in different ways, right? So my friend's character, he decided that he was going to kill the big bad by himself and then become the big bad, right? So not good for anybody. So my character was in a dilemma. He was like, well, do I help this guy fight the big bad? Which is, hindsight, that's probably the best thing I could have done, and then killed him afterwards. But, things don't work out that way. But part of the campaign, part of the drama was that the big bad was my character's brother. What? Yeah, so, drama, right? So, of course, I wanted to be able to save my brother in the game. I wanted to change him to good, so I still had the thought that maybe this battle didn't have to happen. Now, so what did I do? I confronted my friend, who was a villain, who was going to kill the big bad, and I attacked him. I attacked him as he was going to fight the big bad, right? And it had the special secret power that you're not going to find in any rule book ever. Like, I had a strong ability. It was a one-hit kill, a special ability that I had earned by almost dying myself, and that's a story for another time. But I was going to utilize it, and I kept this ability a secret from him specifically, because I knew he was bad early. And I rush out, and I use the power on it. It takes him by surprise. And this power, I'm fighting this guy. He's a magus, or at this point, a broken wizard with all these powers and ability to do physical combat or whatever. And I'm a wizard too. And I know this kind of guy, he was bad. He was like he was kind of like a Voldemort. You know what I mean? You can't just kill Voldemort. He turns into some cockroach and crawls off later and then grows another head and comes back and fights. It's what he was. No, it's what he did, okay? So you could never kill him. And he always had a contingency plan when for his death, for his soul to move on to another body so he could come back and be evil some more. So the way I had to deal with him was I had an ability that put people's intelligence scores to 1. Now, in the game, that means you can't even talk. You're basically a comatose vegetable if you have a 1 in your main ability score. I'm not saying +1. I mean, and the ability score, not the modifier, is a 1, which gives you, what is that, -9, I believe? Or, no. I don't know. No, -5 intelligence. Something like that. Whatever. I'm bad at math. See, maybe I have a 1 in intelligence. But, so you don't have to be good at math to play role-playing games. So, but so he could. That was it. And his response to this, and he looked at the GM. His response was, the ability was called Brain Boil. So it grabbed this. I was a pyromancer, so it grabbed this guy's head and just cooked his brain, and like instantly, because I had all this fire that I just channeled right into his brain. Now, he was smart. He was really smart, especially roleplay smart. Rules, however, this was complete bullshittery. But we know sometimes to be a good GM, you got to ignore the rules. In hindsight, it was a good call. It was a very good call because it added so much drama. If he would have died right there, Boarsville, other than the main villain, of course. But it wouldn't be the same without my buddy playing this evil character. And so he decided to slit his throat in response. Now, I knew this cooked his brain quickly, and he didn't. I was planning on the element of surprise, him not knowing, because when his face lit up when he found out that he was going to die or whatever, or his intelligence was going to be 1. And he took his own life, and his soul went into a ring that he had on his hand or whatever. And his acolyte was supposed to pick up the ring later, put it on his hand, and the soul would take over the body of whatever wore the ring. So, pretty smart. He was already prepared. But we had 2 players that were trying to have something happen, and the rules were hindering that. If I would have just, first of all, my ability wasn't a rule. It wasn't in the rule book or anything like that. I planned in succession a way to hit this guy. But sometimes things just don't work out the way that you're wanting. So that's rule lawyering, and it's bad. But also sometimes it can be good if you're using your powers of rule lawyering to assist a new GM with some quick information that they need to run the game fairly. But usually if you're using it to defend yourself or others, it's kind of... Because a good GM will also swing the other way for you when a situation comes up that you need to go off. So you got to find out what makes them that way. And then you might be able to find a way to just give them what they want in the game. That's not going to mess up the way you're playing. And that's best. So for rule lawyering, I mean... The answer for me to stop me from doing that, I wasn't terribly bad or anything. The answer for me to the rule lawyering situation was to know. If we could go back, if I knew this, that I had the ability to think outside of the box and use things that weren't in the rule set, and I could just do that, and I felt like I could do that, especially in combat and stuff. That would have solved my problem. I wouldn't have rule lawyered as much. I would have had a feel for the game in a different way. Power players. Now, if you have a power player, you're GMing for a power player, the best way to do it is just to let them be a badass, all right? They want that. They built their character to be a badass. The only problem is when you have the badass imposing his power on everybody else. Now that's a problem. Now, how do you answer that? Well, simple. If you're not hooked up to those damn rules, you can just give one of the players a secret power or an ability that can just handle that shit. And that keeps power balance in the game in line. And it can make a power player strive for more power before they mess with other people. They will. They find out that one player has a one-hit kill or a secret ability that makes them immune to everything. And before the power player can continue, because they've got to be the best, right? Before they can continue, they're going to strive for power that can overcome that. And as a GM, you're going to be on top of that. And then you're going to reward the other people with power. That's how my friend that was GMing my the longest campaign I was in, that's how he could handle stuff. And it was brilliant. It was before it was above me. I didn't even know it was happening when it was happening, but he was. He would just reward power to people, and nobody knew what was going on, and it felt like Days of Our Lives, except with magic and murderers. So, that's how you deal with power players, right there, if you're GMing, of course. And what about somebody that is hogging all the spotlight? Well, that's the easiest one to deal with. All you got to do is, if you're the GM, put a turn order on things that aren't combat. Done. Problem solved. Not that hard. And make it so NPCs will take interest in somebody for reasons that you've come up with. Interest in somebody that's not talking, not the main person. Also, make an NPC for the person who's taking all the spotlight, because you're going to try to entertain them too, right? And if you can get them focused on maybe leading a battalion of their own people in the game that you made up, they won't so much hog everybody else's situation. That's very simple. How to deal with people not paying attention? Well, first of all, you got to analyze yourself as GM. You got to ask yourself, hey man, what am I doing wrong here? Am I not entertaining this person? Probably likely, because no matter what GM you are, there's always going to be a person out there who doesn't like the way you GM. It's just part of it. And just don't GM for them. That's probably the best answer. However, if they're not paying attention because they're waiting on other people's turns, time to speed up turn rotation. Because some people will outwardly show that. Other people will just hide it and be like, oh, I'm okay. They'll listen to the most boring shit ever, waiting for their turn. When it gets to a player and they take a 20-minute long turn, and it comes over and there's 6 players at the table and one person's playing on the phone, the rest are just like this, you'll know. Time to speed up turn rotation. And you gotta do that, especially when people break up from a party, okay? Now, it's one thing to have people break off in groups, and it's another thing for have one guy trickle away from where the rest of the group is going. You don't want that. And the way to solve that is to just nip their time down. Nip it, nip it, nip it. And it's sometimes it can be rough. It's hard to do that to people sometimes, but if you have to understand as a player that when I sit down to the game, this game master has come up with a plot to entertain everybody. It's come up with something. Now, if I design a player who's just above all that, right? He's cool. He's a lone wolf, right? It's Donald Trump, all right? He's gonna build a wall over here. Whatever. He's a lone wolf. He's going away. And here's the action. Here's everything the GM designed. It's right here. Now, it's one thing to do that if the whole group goes. Gravy. Then, as a GM, you can figure out ways to either bring them back to that, or you can just set up a better scenario, a different scenario, or take them wherever they want to go. If somebody's walking off, though, I tell you what, I don't have very much patience for it. And unless they have a plan, if they're like, oh man, I gotta go to the Dark Tower and forge my sword of lightning and badassery so I can come back and fight the Lich that I know is in that cave. We'll run it, and it'll be fun. I'll run it with you solo. I won't give you as much time. I'll cut stuff back till I can get you back, because that's what I want. As a GM, you got to strive to have people together. But just a little bit of distance is good too. But you want them to be together. And if you're the other player, where you go out into the forest, and you're like, okay, I walk through the forest. What's behind this tree? Well, there's another tree. Alright. Well, I keep walking. Alright, you find a river. Oh. Alright, well, I'm gonna go to the left. What do I see? More trees. More trees. I need to get a shirt that says that. More trees. Because I'm not gonna sit here and design. I'm not running 2 fucking campaigns at once. I'm just not doing it. If you're not entertained, guess what? You need to make a character that's more entertained with what's going on. And oftentimes I'll just play it out like that. I mean, people think the game is... That's what they think initially, that the game is all about freedom of choice, which it is. It is. But it's also... There's respect outside of the game. You can't be making characters that are dicks to everybody else. I mean, what are they gonna... These people love these characters. And what are you gonna do? You're gonna make a guy who's a serial murderer that goes and kills every other character? No, come on now. There's etiquette. There's a level beyond the game of respect. And when you sit down at the table, you need to make... You're part of a creative process of something grand, something beautiful. So when you make characters that are lone wolves, or trying to kill other people, then you really need to rethink it. And the GM just does not owe you shit. He doesn't owe you shit. He or she does not owe you jack shit for your behavior. Because it's not. This is, if you wanted to do that, you go play a video game. Okay? But some people don't understand. Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, all these role-playing games, it is a group activity. Because I'm not going to have one player wander off into the woods while the rest go here, with a player going off with no fucking purpose. I'm not going to sit there and entertain them when I could just take them to the side and have a whole another game, whole another session just with them. Not happening. Nope. And so, those players, you may have to talk to. And you may have to be honest with them. And that's probably the only way to solve a situation like that. They may be boring them, straight up boring them. Or it may be that their character just cannot deal with a certain situation. Then they need to make a new character. That's very simple. Now, you gotta speak to your GM. You gotta speak to him. You gotta tell him or her, you gotta say, if there's a problem player, you gotta tell him that you got a problem with a player. You got a problem with how they behave. You should do it, because first of all, most GMs are cunning enough to know that there's that player is a problem. Now, other GMs will look at it as a point to make more drama, and sometimes it's just not good. Sometimes the behavior is actual just disrespect, not just as a player, but outside of the game. It's kind of disrespectful. That needs to be solved, and the GM is a problem solver. So tell them the situation and figure out if maybe the GM needs to talk to that player. Maybe the player just shouldn't be invited again. Maybe, I mean, you never know. You don't know. So let's see. So what I was saying before, you got to try and look at the player in a new light. If they're a power player, would probably have struggles outside the game. If they're evil, and I had this happen, an evil character in a campaign that we played outside of the game, the dude was damn near angelic. Still is a good person. I mean, he would do anything for anybody, and he would stretch himself thin. I mean, even when I worked with him, he'd do college papers for people that were from a different country. And he'd edit all their papers, and he'd just do it for free. This was the kind of person he was. And still is a good person, a damn good friend too. But in the game, he was a vile, sadistic bastard. And that's how he coped with a lot of that emotion. And I tell you what, the places of the evil that this manifested in this character came from a place of sheer hatred in that boy's heart. It was beautiful. Character's still beautiful. Even though he was an enemy to my character, I still respect the hell out of him and how he executed the player, or the character. But he wasn't a problem player, but that's what you gotta understand. Everybody that comes to the game, they bring baggage with them, whether they know it or not. Psychological baggage. And if you can understand what that baggage is, you can help them have a better game. And if they're having a better game, you're going to have a better game. It's all win-win-win. So, the next thing I want to do is what if you're a player at the table and other people are bad players, right? Well, you got to get out of the game. Probably the best situation. But second is if you have a player who is a rules lawyer, power player, something like that, just never tell them your character's plans, okay? Never. Never. Just act. Just act, because that's what it's about. Role-playing isn't about, oh, hey, I was gonna go sneak up on the dragon and stab it. Is that okay, guys? No, that's not what it's about. You just need to go and do it. Just do it. Don't sit around and wait for all the players or bad players to negate all of your stuff. Well, if I was a rule lawyer, I'd be like, well, the dragon's AC is 30, and if you go and climb the dragon's back, you're probably not going to hit anyway, you're going to die. Lame. If I'm an empowered player, I'm going to be like, no, you're not going to kill it. You're not going to stab the dragon. I'm going to stab the dragon. And then they'll rush off and they'll do it first. Now, if they're the charismatic player, they're going to be like, no, you're not going to stab the dragon, all right? What you're going to do is you're going to wait 5 minutes. You're going to coat your blade in poison. We're going to go in together. Then you're going to stab the dragon. That's what's going to happen. They're going to blow off any semblance of your own independence and free will in the game. Keep that shit a secret and just do it spontaneously. Sorcerers do it spontaneously. You should do it spontaneously, alright? And that keeps a game intense. Sometimes you ain't got time to talk over some of the situations and the things you want to do. You want to play your character. Play your character. Don't ask other people how you're going to play your character or what your plans are or whatever. Just do it. Do it with the best intention, of course. Try and help people out if you can. But if it's holding your character back, just do it. Alright? That's all I've got to talk about today. About 30-minute long video. Pretty good. I hope you guys like this style of vlog that I'm doing here for role-playing games. I like to give people something to think about, and I'm really interested in continuing this style of vlog or whatever. Thanks for watching my vlog here. RPG Mastery. In my mom's basement. No, just kidding. This is my basement. But I really appreciate it. If you watch this, and you watched it to the end, fucking bravo. Give me a thumbs up and a like. And please comment to me. Just comment, alright? Put something in there that's information that you think other people are going to use. Because they do. I watched a lot of videos. I watch a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff about RPG. Obviously. It's the only way you better yourself. You gotta spread this stuff. If you know a way that I don't know, I don't know everything. If you know a way to solve a problem with a problem player, put it in the comments. Save me the time in the future and save everybody else the time. But remember that this is a beautiful game, and a problem player is somebody who's hungry for something. You're hungry for something they're not getting. Thank you very much. This is Nick Newman with RPG Mastery, and comment, like, and subscribe, and stay calm and roll 20. Thank you.